Hi everybody, this is Moo.
And this is Fuji.
We just watched Dinosaur. Well, this is the most nondescript Disney movie we've watched.
I wouldn't say that. I think we've watched some equally nondescript Disney movies thus far.
Like what?
The short film ones.
Okay, the package films are... The package films are just kind of a mixed bag. And those weren't made to be a feature movie necessarily, like with a cohesive narrative.
Yeah, but I mean, we're watching all of them and we're treating them as Disney feature films, so
True.
that's only fair.
Okay, yeah, but this is the most nondescript one.
Okay.
That's the big narrative.
And I'm gonna say, I think we came into this one unfairly.
You think so?
We came into this one biased. We were like, oh, it's gonna suck. No one remembers this movie. It's a bad movie.
It's not a bad movie.
It's not. And that's what I was trying to come into this objectively. And I don't think it's a bad movie.
No.
I think that it's definitely a style over substance movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it suffers from the style not having aged well in 17 years.
Yeah. I also, like I said, I think it's purposely nondescript. Like, that wasn't on accident. Like, it's made to look realistic.
It's made to look timeless.
Right.
Was the intent.
Yes, but because it looks that way, it ends up not really standing out in terms of in your mind. And plus, it doesn't help that we already have things like Jurassic Park beforehand. I don't think that helps either.
And remember that this is coming out at a time when everyone was like, CGI effects are like the future. Everything is going to be photorealistic.
Yeah.
CGI. And the reason why Jurassic Park generally holds up is because quite a few of those effects were practical effects. They weren't CGI. And it's the same, you come back to like Jurassic World and it's like those things don't have the same weight to them because they didn't exist.
Right. Even the few times they did use animatronics in Jurassic World, but it was so didn't happen very often that it really like didn't make much of a difference, or at least I didn't think so. Like, especially with the big... But this is not about Jurassic World.
It sort of is. Okay, and I feel like for context, this movie comes out, I think, in my memory, when Dinosaur Mania is, like, insane.
Yeah.
I remember the first Jurassic Park when that came out, and dinosaurs were just freaking everywhere and just never went away. Like, dinosaurs have always kind of been around. But this movie comes out squarely between Lost World and Jurassic Park 3.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, there's reasons why Jurassic Park 3 was made a thing.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't have, I think, a whole lot to do with the critical acclaim of Jurassic Park: The Lost World.
Right.
And jumping way aside, part of the reason why I think there are these sort of stylistic limitations is that the backgrounds for Dinosaur are live action. Like, they were shot on screen, they're film. And so the dinosaurs had to fit into these pre-existing backgrounds.
Right.
And I feel like, the artists working on this probably were feeling a lot of pressure to make things as realistic as they could. And the truth is that dinosaurs were probably not, like red and blue and like really eye-catching character designs sort of. They wouldn't lend themselves to that the same way that, like, an average, birds and squirrels and whatnot. Like, you have to do something to them to make them characters. And I feel like that's where this movie begins to lack.
Yeah. I also think the other thing that kind of brings it down a bit is that the narrative is pretty generic. I think that's the right word I'm thinking of, is like, I could, where this is gonna go from start to finish, and it doesn't help. And I feel like, at least for me, there's better dinosaur movies that I could watch that's not this one, so I can see why I don't remember it, because I mean, I wasn't super into dinosaurs as a little kid, but I still liked them, and I remember Land Before Time very clearly, partly because Land Before Time traumatizes you a little bit, but I remember Land Before Time pretty well, and I remember all sorts of dinosaur things that I watched when I was young. I remember the Flintstones dinosaurs way more clear than I do these guys.
And I mean,
very
also,
much so.
When we're talking about style over substance, like, Land Before Time has both a fairly complex theme as well as looks amazing.
Yeah.
Because, Land Before Time, you take it at face value. It's about a group of little baby dinosaurs going on a journey to find this valley. But it's also a movie that's about loss, about grief.
Yeah.
It's got other things going for it.
Right.
Whereas this movie, I'm sure at the time it was visually really impressive.
Right. That's part of the reason why I read the little reviews on it online when it came out, and pretty much everyone said like, "Oh man, the story was kind of meh, but the visuals looked amazing."
Mhm.
And the style of the dinosaurs like being so rubbery looking actually works well for dinosaurs, works well for reptiles. Doesn't work so much for lemurs. The lemurs did not age well at all, I don't think. They're especially their faces. Their faces are kind of weird, especially the older one, the main male one. Oh, hey, look, an advertising for Notre Dame. We have the VHS still kind of going, and it's playing the stuff after the credits. But yeah, the basic. Where's my point? Yeah, point being is, it's the sequel to Hunchback of Notre Dame.
It faked you out again.
I hate my life. No, we're not talking about the sequels. We're not talking about the sequels. Oh my god. If I get on top of the sequels, I will never stop.
Hey, Haley Joel Osment.
Hi, Haley Joel Osment. Yeah, he's Zephyr in that one.
That.
Anyway, hey, she looks like Tinkerbell.
Should I turn this off?
Or at least pause it, yeah.
Well, I can't pause it, so I'm just gonna turn it off.
Yeah, go ahead. Turn off the TV. Thank you. I'm being distracted by Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 existing. So, anyway, what was I saying before I got off track? Oh,
lemurs.
Yeah. Lemurs. Lemurs don't look good. But, like, I can see why if I saw this in 2000, and I was older in 2000, I would have been like, wow, this is really impressive looking. Like, I've never seen anything like this kind of deal. But, like, because I think the reason why this didn't stick around is, well, one, in the end, it's actually not that marketable of a thing, which is funny because it's dinosaurs, but there's other dinosaur things.
Right.
So, as a result, you can't be like, oh, yes, this is a Disney dinosaur, and not, like, differentiate from, like, say, a Jurassic Park dinosaur, which
I mean, we're talking about Eisner. And
no, Eisner,
like, everything coming back to, is this marketable?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't think is necessarily a bad way of approaching a product.
Right, yeah.
Like, maybe approaching a movie, it's not the best way, but when you're approaching a product, which every movie that's put out by Disney is a product, it's not necessarily, like, just, like, a work of art, a work of film art.
Right.
Like, it has to be a product.
Mm-hmm.
And I am surprised that this movie wasn't designed to be a product.
Yeah, granted, he probably, because here's the thing about Michael Eisner, is if he was interested in something, he's interested in something, wants to micromanage the bejesus out of it, every single aspect. That's why we get things like Chicken Little. But if he's not interested in it, or very passively interested in it, he usually is a bit more relaxed on that kind of thing. Yeah, he's going to be saying things like, oh, this should be more marketable, because you said to me when we were watching that, originally Dinosaur was going to be no dialogue at all, and it would just be visuals, but Michael Myers was like, no, I don't think that'd be marketable, which I don't think he was wrong to say that. I don't think this would have done very good without the dialogue, honestly.
And for the record, this movie did do well.
It did. It made $300 million at the box office, may pay back everything, but it just didn't stick around in the public consciousness. And here's the thing about Disney wants its films to be critically liked. It really does. It really wants its movies to be critically liked. So if they're not critically liked, they're not for it, you know? They want them to both make money and they want them to be critically liked. They really do. That's why if there is something that's really critically panned, like say this movie or Chicken Little, they're going to be like, nope, bye, throw it out the window, because they don't want to deal with that.
And weirdly, I can appreciate that, you know, as an artist, like aiming for both commercial success and critical acclaim. Like, that's tough.
Oh no, I totally get it.
Yeah.
But like, and then we see the other side of the coin a little later down the line. We aren't quite there yet, but when we see Atlantis and Treasure Planet, I think those movies did do good, like, review-wise. I mean, it didn't do fantastic either, but they did good review-wise, but they didn't make money, and especially Treasure Planet, which straight up bombed. It bombed. It didn't make its money back. So, there's the other side of the coin there. Both those movies were received well, but they didn't make money very much, especially Treasure Planet. So, it's interesting, you know? This is all very interesting. We've entered an extremely interesting time, because we're hitting the really turbulent 2000s. It's kind of amazing that we even have movies like Emperor's New Groove, which is our next one, or Lilo and
Lilo and
Stitch.
Stitch.
Well, Lilo and Stitch was lucky because it had a low budget. I think that's why it was able to not, be
And
awful.
see, that's why, like, I just have mixed feelings because, like, people are like, "Oh, this time for Disney was terrible," but it's like, no, actually,
Not really.
it's just that it hit this extreme of like really good movies. Like Lilo and Stitch is one of my
I
favorites.
love Lilo and Stitch. Emperor's New
I
Groove is hilarious.
I like Treasure Planet. I like it a
Yeah.
lot. And then yet there's also these weird ones,
Like Home on the Range.
Home on the Range, and like
Then Chicken Little. Actually, those two movies in a row, if you think about it, it probably where the reputation of the early 2000s being crappy for Disney came from. Because remember, Treasure Planet bombed. Not a lot of people saw it when it came out. Brother Bear did. It did fine.
Brother Bear is pretty good.
I remember liking Brother
like
Bear. I haven't seen Brother Bear in like
I liked Meet the
God,
Robinsons.
ages. I also like Meet the Robinsons. Meet the Robinsons didn't come out 2007.
So they skipped a few years there in between. I remember that this was when there's a lot of TV shows going on.
Yeah.
That's when like the TV department became crazy.
Yeah, that they were also making the Disney sequels. Remember, they did not stop until
right.
Lasseter became the head of animation when Meet the Robinsons came out.
Mm-hmm.
They kept going until that happened, which was unfortunate because Cinderella 3 was the last one and it's the best one, as all of you guys know.
Man, I'm just looking at the list and it's like Bolt was definitely like Disney revivals Oliver and Company.
Yeah, actually. Without the music, there wasn't any songs, but which is funny because they have singers in both because John Travolta's a dog and he can sing, and Miley Cyrus is the young girl in that movie. But there's no songs. I don't know. I think that's kind of funny. We don't really have a musical movie again until Princess and the Frog, do we? Unless you count Lilo and Stitch soundtrack, but oh my god, yeah, we don't have a Disney musical until Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, so that's
holy crap,
like
that's a long time. Yeah, huh? Because now we're getting to the time when, as the 2000s go on, is when I started keeping track of this stuff. I started keeping track of the stuff around Meet the Robinsons, actually.
You know, I can't help but wonder if, just looking at this list and looking at the timestamps, that, like, people our age who got so, like, vehemently anti-Disney,
yeah,
if it's a result of some of these, like, bad movies coming out.
Plus the Disney sequels, they were coming out around the same time and en masse. If I do make a list of the Disney sequels that happened.
I was gonna say bad Disney sequels.
Whoops, not all of them are terrible. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, you're talking bad Disney sequels. Do you mean most Disney sequels? Like, do you really have to repeat it?
No, I gotta clarify just in case someone who's a fan of Lion King 2 is down there, that not all of them are terrible, because people get mad if you imply that Lion King 2 isn't good. Though I think Lion King 2 has its own problems, but
it's got its own problems, but like for a Disney sequel, it was pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's fine. But the animation budget is like
oh my gosh, my VCR just spat out that VHS.
Did you forget that it does that?
I did forget, but it's just kind of funny. It just like spit it out.
You gotta rewind it now. Be kind, rewind. Oh, you gotta be nice to my Dinosaur VHS I got from Goodwill. But how did I end up here? Oh yeah, it's just interesting, like, to see this point in the Disney history.
And this is something that, you know, sort of on the side, I've been doing a lot of reading up on film. We're also approaching an interesting point, and I feel like this might become relevant, that anime films are starting to become widespread in the United States in the early 2000s. Because I remember that's when I think I first went to go see Princess Mononoke in the theaters. The Pokemon movies were coming out. Okay, no, Akira is different because that
I know it came out in the 80s. I was just trying to remember when it came out. Yeah. But, like, I think, yeah, this is when Spirited Away come to theaters, because that, like...
Spirited Away didn't come out till 2003?
Yeah, that sounds right. 2001.
2001 in Japan. I don't know if it came right away.
Yeah, no, I didn't read. I just read the first one, but it came pretty soon after that. See, Japan.
Here, 2002, it debuted at Berlin International Film Festival.
Okay, yeah, then that's when people would have seen it.
Right. And so I think that when those movies start coming out, I think between that and Pixar is when Disney really begins kind of losing this iron grip that they had, you know, since sort of recovering during the Disney Renaissance. So we see this, you know, earlier when we said when Star Wars came out, when Disney lost sort of their iron grip on, you know, summer family blockbusters. And then again, you start to see this here because we're starting to get into the era where, you know, DreamWorks became a thing.
Yes. DreamWorks is definitely a thing now.
Sony wasn't going to become a thing for a while still.
No, Sony is like pretty
Um,
late in the game
yeah.
actually.
When did Blue Sky and all
Blue
of that
Sky,
happen?
they came out way after Shrek and
Yeah.
DreamWorks. Shrek was 2001, so
Okay, so
Dinosaur
yeah,
happened
this
before.
basically the same year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna start seeing a lot more Japanese films being distributed. So I think that as we're moving forward, it's important to keep into context the other things that are coming out and why Disney just seemed to be performing so poorly during this time.
You know what else started happening? Summer blockbusters. Because Harry Potter came to the theaters a little bit down the
Well, but
line.
I'm saying that we've experienced that with Star Wars.
Okay, yes, that's true. It's true. But like they made a comeback. Like Star Wars did come back actually with the prequels. So Star Wars had that came in, and then we had other series blockbusters like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. So Disney basically was just getting way so much competition that they couldn't keep up at the time.
Mhm.
And so we got a lot of movies that either weren't very good or just no one saw them because they came out on weekends where
Other things were coming out.
yeah, where they got their ass kicked. So
And see, that's why I'm so Lilo and Stitch just stands out so much
yeah,
to
Lilo and
me.
Stitch.
Well, because it's this tiny little movie. It was this tiny budget movie, and it
Oh
was just a
yeah.
real simple story. There wasn't really, anything huge going for it, and yet it's, up there. Like today, like Stitch is hugely marketable.
Yeah, especially in Japan. Yeah, this made so much more of its budget back. Its budget was $80 million. It made back $273 million. That is really quite a profit from such a
That's
tiny baby
4 times its
movie.
budget.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like, good for. I'm happy for Lilo and Stitch, but we can talk about Lilo and Stitch like
When
later
we
when
get
we
there.
get to Lilo, Lilo and Stitch, which we're very close. That's number 42. We're on 39, so we're gonna hit the big 40. Woohoo! I'm so
But
excited.
I mean, coming back then to the one that we just watched, that Dinosaur is just in this awkward place where I think they're sort of losing their grip on their product, and yet they haven't regained their footing again.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, we're about to hit. This isn't like where this came out in 2000, but 2001, we're about to see when tourism in America dropped dramatically because of 9/11. So that really hit the Disney company hard, like very hard. Not just the parks, because the parks are a big part of their revenue, and because it hit the parks so hard, it affected everything else too, and including their movies. And their movies weren't making like a huge amount of money either.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna bring that up, remember that the economy tanked
It did.
in
Yeah.
2001, which, it's kind of funny to think about that. Oh, there's probably a lot of people who don't remember that.
No.
But,
The tank in 2008 also hurt the Disney company quite a bit.
it did. But, just remember that in 2001, because I remember this, like, people lost a lot of money. Like, everything just crashed. People were hoarding their money because, everything was just spiraling downward. I remember that, like, my parents lost a lot in stocks, and suddenly people were really worried. And it wasn't only the economy part, it was literally that, like, you felt like the end of the world might be happening.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
And there's really this just, it's a phrase that gets tossed around a lot, but there really was just this paradigm shift before and after 2001.
So I think that did really affect the Disney company and the movies we're going to see, even like right before it. So we have Dinosaur, and Prisoner of Grief came out the same year, and I think they're okay. And then we have Atlantis, which didn't do great. It didn't tank like Treasure Planet did, but it didn't do great. And it's only going to go mostly downhill. I'm going to say only mostly because Lilo and Stitch did good. I think Brother and Bear did good. But then Home on the Range and Chicken Little happened. And while both of them, I don't think Home on the Range made its money back, but Chicken Little did make money back. It was so poorly received that, like, they backed off for a while.
Also, remember that we're getting into the era of widespread internet.
Yes, we are in that.
So that's starting to happen too.
Yep. The internet is a big thing. That's part of the reason why the Save Disney campaign, which I will talk about when we get to Brother Bear, because that's when that starts. Why the Save Disney campaign was so effective is because this is around the time the internet was a big deal, and internet petitions were a big deal, and spreading information about something like the Save Disney campaign was a big deal. So, but we'll get to that when we get close there. We're not there quite yet. But at this point, Michael Eisner does start losing favor with a lot of people really quickly. He started losing favor in the Disney parks with the disaster that was California Adventure. What happened with Euro Disney, which changed their name to Disneyland Paris, which, by the way, Euro Disney was a dumb name anyway. Like, yeah, name it after. It's like naming a park Dollar Disneyland in Europe. Like, dude, you really didn't think that name out. But anyway, do you got any final thoughts on Dinosaur?
No, I mean, it's good. It is what it is. It's,
Yeah.
A result of its time.
Would you recommend this to somebody?
I can't say that I would. I mean, just
Yeah.
because we're watching it because we're interested in this sort of study of film.
Yeah.
Like, if you're watching something for entertainment, there are so many other movies that you could watch.
Yeah, no, pick so many other dinosaur movies. Pick Jurassic Park. Watch Jurassic Park. If you have seen it before, watch it again anyway. Jurassic Park's a good movie.
It's still a good movie.
Yeah, watch Land Before Time. That's also still a good movie. Don't watch something else with dinosaurs. Like, this is not worth your time, I don't think. If you're not interested in, like, Disney history or film history, or even if you're interested in, like, computer generated animation and the history of that, then I guess, yeah, sure, go ahead and give it a go, because it's interesting. It is a little time capsule in animation in CGI animation from 2000. But I personally say, if you want to see something like that, watch the first Toy Story instead. I would say look at that. Yeah, because even though that was 99, like I think that's was it 99 or 98?
Toy Story?
Yeah,
the first Toy Story.
Very first Toy Story.
94.
94. Oh shit, it's older than I thought.
Not 90. It was developed in 94. 95 is when it came out.
Okay, am I thinking of Toy Story 2? I have no idea, but I hold on, I'll Google it. But I swear there was one that came out that year. Yeah, Toy Story was 95. I swear, I think it was the second one then. It had to be the second one, because it did come out a little bit afterwards. 99, yeah, okay. Toy Story 2 came out in 99. Right, I got this. Don't look at me like that!
You call yourself a fan.
Fuck off, Fuji, I will fight you.
You probably win, because I'm pretty sick.
Maybe. Sure you doing okay, dude?
Yeah. But I think I should wrap this up.
Okay, well, anyway, that's all I got to say. Our next movie is going to be Emperor's New Groove.